Hey guys, it's Rabbit. I'm back for another installment of my That One Doll tag, and today I have London Arthur Lansbury with me. He's not looking incredibly thrilled, but tough. His hair is like floating. Sorry, it's very fluffy. Um, for the first question, London is London Arthur Lansbury is his full name, and I chose London. Originally, I debated whether or not I wanted to go with London or Landon, and I'm glad that I went with London because it has a less harsh sound to it, and also it incorporated more into his character because he was actually born in London, and then his parents later moved back to America, so that has some significance there. Arthur is after King Arthur because his parents, like me, are kind of nerdy and are really into Arthurian stuff. Lansbury is after the English actress Angela Lansbury, whom I adore. So, also one of his favorite movies is Beauty and the Beast, so it makes sense too. Not that he can choose his last name, but I can. So, that's where Lansbury comes from. Second question is, what's your doll's sculpt and why did you choose it? London is a Soul Doll double jewel in white skin, and I chose his sculpt mostly kind of just a floating idea. I probably wouldn't even own this doll except for the fact that I won him in the Soul Doll 1+1 event. um his sister Charlotte I had originally planned to buy, and she's my Soul Doll Rye, and when I saw Soul Doll Jewel, who came out at the same time, I thought, well, they look like they could be brother and sister. So said to myself, well, if I win this event, then that's the doll I'd want to get for free. So, here he is, because I won. So, that was amazing. That, this little, freebie doll has really carved his way into my collection, and he's hanging on tooth and nail. So, here he is. Let's see. Number 3 is, how long have you had this doll? I've had him since June 3rd of 2013, I believe. Um, so a few years now. Number 4 is pros and cons of the sculpt. Um, I don't have a lot. I mean, I have a lot of pros. I've really grown attached to this face. Mostly, he has this really like delicately masculine face. Like his nose, I'm in love with because it has this little It's hard to describe, but it has a little kink on the end, and the little bridge is just so unique. And he has this little like dimple in his chin right here. It's really sunk in, and I love that uh like V shape to his face, like from the cheekbones down. It has this really distinct V shape, and I've really fallen in love with that. Um, I guess the Soul Doll double, like the old Soul Doll double body, is probably one of my favorites because it poses so well. And yeah, the knees look a little bit awkward when they're not, like, if they're wearing shorts or something, but since London never wears shorts, he would not be seen in shorts. That's not an issue. Um, I actually think it's kind of cool. He has the old hands because when they sent him to me, they sent me one of the old hands and one of the newer hands, and so I had to ask them for like the other ones to make, so at least make one matching set, and I kept the older style hands on him, which are different than Alex's hands. So that's kind of cool. Let's see. The only cons, I guess, about the sculpt itself is that his head is so small for an SD doll that the wigs and stuff are like they'd be MSD size. Like he can't wear SD. Like he can't wear an 8-9 size wig. He has to wear like a 7-8, which is okay because I make his wigs now anyway. And his hair is so poofy most of the time. Like even this wig, it lays pretty flat but still pretty curly. It makes his head look bigger than it is, and his character actually has delicate features, so it works okay. Um, Number 5, any face-ups and modifications. When I first got London, I gave him a face-up so that he was blonde, because he had a blonde wig at first. It was platinum blonde, but it was blonde. So I designed him to be a blonde character, and then later on decided that his character had albinism. So even though his first face up was really pretty, and I got some really good pictures and stuff with that face up, and I liked it. It saddened me, but I wiped it off. And the albinism face ups like really gave me a lot of problems. But I like the one he has now. So if I ever redo it, I will be using this one as a reference to go off of. So I think I did like 3 face ups that were before the one that he has now to make him look right. White is very hard to work with because if you blush it too much, he doesn't match the rest of his body. And he has little like white eyebrows and white eyelashes underneath and stuff. So it was very difficult getting the shading right and still making him look like pretty and not just like a sunburned mess. So yeah. Um yeah, I think this is like his third or fourth face up. He is modded. He doesn't have any tattoos or piercings or anything like that because that's just not part of his character. But I did mod him to be shorter, which is kind of an odd modification. But the Soldal double boy has really long legs, and I noticed that when his legs are folded, he could use some off of the calf. So I actually took about 3 or 4 centimeters off of the lower part of his leg right here, and then just kind of smoothed it out to fit his ankle joint like back in there. So I just like cut it off and then re-put his ankle joint back in there. So yeah, he's I think he's about 58 centimeters now, where he used to be like 63. So I wanted his character to be shorter, and also I already have a Soldal double, which is Alex. So I wanted him to look different than Alex does, height wise and character wise and stuff like that. So yeah, that's kind of an interesting mod. I've never actually seen anybody else do that, but it's a fairly easy mod if you have the tool for it. Um, Number 6 is how has your character evolved over time? Um, Obviously, I already mentioned when I first got him, he was just blonde, and now he has albinism, and so much of his character has evolved since I first got him. Like, I had no idea anything about him when I first got him, so he's done a lot of evolving. Mostly, I would say through the face. Like, if you look at like some of the first pictures, he had like, and his wigs and everything. He had this blonde wig that had like bangs, and it was kind of curly. And like now, I look back and I'm like, oh god, he looks so much better like now. For London, I'm not really going for like traditionally like beautiful, like he looks like he's wearing makeup and everything. I'm going for more of a stylized but still kind of more realistic look, like he actually has albinism. So I hope that's pretty clear aesthetically. Um, Number 7 is what props does this doll own that is specific to his character? London is very spoiled, so I'm going to show you. I have like 4 props here that I can show you. First of all, I made this even before he got here. Is his teddy bear? And it's not actually that big. It's about this size. But this is Roquefort, his teddy bear. His father gave him this bear, so it's kind of an important part of his character. I chose this particular pattern that I bought on Etsy. I don't remember the artist's name right now, but her bears always have these like little tiny legs and kind of longer bodies, and I thought that was just a really cute design. But yeah, I have little Roquefort. Um, and then he plays the viola. So I have originally I was like, oh, it's a violin, and then I was like, this is way too big to be a violin. He also plays the violin, but this is a viola in comparison. Like, I looked up the measurements for the viola, and it's like from your neck, if you extend your arm out, like down to the middle of your palm. So it's perfect scale for a viola. So, and the viola suits his character a little bit better, I feel, anyway, because it's a little deeper, and he has a very, like, deep, monotone type of voice, and I feel that expresses his character more clearly than the violin is a little higher. He also plays the cello. which obviously I don't have a doll-sized cello because that would be pretty big. Another prop that I have is this little pocket watch. It's like super cute and it actually like opens up and works. There's a lot of these that you can get online. My sister gave that to London for Christmas. So I'm going to try to make him like a vest or something that kind of he can show that off a little bit more. His most important prop that I got this from Cedar Heart on Flickr. Um, she was making this available and I commissioned it to be painted kind of like a white with gray highlight type in the cracks. This his cane. It's got a raven head on it and like kind of a little Celtic design on the base there, and it's just a really cool prop. It also has on the end, it has like more feathers and stuff. So that's a really important prop for his character because he has a severe limp and has to walk with a cane wherever he goes. So he's always got a cane with him. So I was like, his doll needs to have like a cool looking cane. Um, so that's like probably his most important prop to his character. Um, Number 8, how is this doll related to your others? Like I mentioned before, your little strappy's falling down there, kind of like a bra strap. No, it's his vest. He is related to Charlotte, is his sister. Silas is his husband, and River is Charlotte's husband, so River would be his brother-in-law. If I eventually get Ryan, Ryan is his half brother. He doesn't really know Ryan that well until like later on, so they're kind of estranged brothers, and he's like 36 when Ryan is like 18, so there's a lot of age difference there too. But other than that, he kind of he's friends with some of my other dolls, but he's also kind of hermity, so it's taken him a while to Alex and Julie, they really didn't like each other when they first met. Like they did not like London, and he didn't like them. And now they're like really good friends. Like they've created this bizarre friendship out of like hating each other, and now it's just like they've overcome that to actually like all the things that they disliked about each other, they ended up liking about each other. So that's kind of interesting. And then also my sister's doll, Anne, he kind of has this weird friendship with her. She's just a very energetic, she says anything that's on her mind. She's just very out there and kind of an aggressive, like extrovert type, like Noah, and he ends up really like liking her as a friend and getting along with her really well, even though they're like polar opposites. They have this kind of affection for each other that's really sweet. Also, his editor I might eventually get as a doll form. I actually have her picked out as a Argonautical doll, the iFit or Ifit or whatever. That, because she's an older lady character, she's supposed to be like close to 40. So I really like that sculpt for her. So if I do get her eventually, that's what sculpt she would be. And they're like best friends. So yeah. Let's see. Number 9 is what plans do you have for this doll? I'm still kind of playing around with London's wigs and stuff. Um, I really like this one, but it's very white and it's not quite I don't know. I had to braid it to get it to look curlier and stuff. There's nothing wrong with this wig. It's just I like experimenting and wig making and giving them different looks and stuff like that. So I'll probably still keep playing around with wigs for him. Always making different clothes for him because he has like all these ruffles and it's just fun to make clothes for because he's so foppish in his style. So I think he's pretty set with the shoes because he's got like those classy boots, and then he has like his lordly high heel kind of saddle shoes, and I'm pretty happy with those. They fit his character really well. So he's got all the shoes he probably needs. Number 10, quick 5 facts about your character. Um, I kind of already mentioned this, but he plays the violin, the viola, the cello, and the piano. He has a lot of time on his hands to learn musical instruments, and he's very musically minded. So, yeah, he loves stringed instruments in particular. Number like number 2, I guess. He is bipolar, which he didn't discover that until he was 18, but it kind of goes with the next one. He's a historical fiction slash fantasy writer, and he also writes plays. This is nice for him because well, for one, he's kind of a hermit, so he doesn't like leaving the house a whole lot. So he doesn't have to work in an environment with a lot of different people, and he also gives him kind of his own schedule so he can work around his bipolar issues, which he has pretty much worked out by now because he's like in his 30s, but story wise. So I mean that works out nicely for him. But yeah, let's see. His oh, also as a writer, he goes as L.A. Lansbury. That's like his author name. People do know that his name is London Arthur, but it's kind of he has a blog. He's actually a pretty famous writer within his character's world. Obviously, he's way smarter than I am. He works through all these like complicated storylines and stuff like that. He's a very amazing writer. Um, let's see another fact. His best friend is Nina, his editor, which I kind of already mentioned that too. But yeah, Nina's pretty much the only person that put up with him as a writer. He went through a couple of other editors before, and they just couldn't stand him because he's so obstinate. So eventually, Nina kind of like clawed her way in there and was like, "Okay, I'm your editor, whether you like it or not." And he was like, "Oh, I like that attitude." So she stuck around. Lastly, he has a daughter in France, whose name is Cosette. She is, I think, she's about 14 years old. That was kind of an odd thing. I'll have to explain that somewhere in the story, but he had kind of this little thing going on with because he was very inexperienced, and this nice artist lady, her name's Joetta, was just overly friendly with him, and they did become friends later. Like they didn't have an affair necessarily, but they kind of fooled around. And they ended up having Cosette, and he's very involved in his daughter's life, and he's a very good dad, despite him being such a grumpy character. He's actually very sweet, and he's like, shut up. Um, but yeah, anyway, that about wraps it up for London. I could go on longer, but this video is already way longer than my other dolls videos so far. So if you've made it this far, awesome. And I'll be back in the next video. See you guys next time.